All right, let's get into a story that starts with a really simple but really unsettling question and then just completely spirals into this technological mystery that seems, well, impossible.
So picture this. You're deep asleep. It's the middle of the night, and that sound, that ringtone, just cuts right through the silence. Your first thought is probably, uh-oh, this can't be good. But then you grab your phone, you look at the screen, and it's not an unknown number. It's not your mom, not a friend. It's you. It's your name, and it's your number calling your own phone.
What do you even do in that moment? Your brain just kind of freezes, right? Well, that's the exact question we're going to dig into today.
Okay, so let's set the scene here. Our story kicks off in March of 2023, and it centers on a guy named Daniel Harper. He's 32, lives in Austin, Texas, and he's an IT tech. This is a guy who gets technology. He solves problems with logic. But what was happening to him? Yeah, this was something else entirely.
The very first call came at this bizarrely specific time, 3:17 in the morning, sharp. You know, he's half asleep, groggy, and his first reaction is just to mash ignore and go back to sleep. But then he saw it. The caller ID, Daniel Harper. His own name. His own number. Now, being an IT guy, his mind immediately jumped to a logical answer. Number spoofing. It's a common trick where spammers disguise their number to look like someone else's. So he just kind of brushed it off. A weird, annoying glitch.
But then it happened again. The next night, 3:17 a.m., same call. This time, he didn't ignore it right away. He just watched it ring. And that feeling of it being a simple glitch started to fade. By the third night, it was undeniable. This wasn't random anymore. This felt intentional.
So Daniel did exactly what you'd expect a tech guy to do. He decided to fight back with logic. He was going to troubleshoot this thing, figure it out, and stop it.
He went through all the logical steps. First, he calls his mobile carrier. They tell him, sorry, that's literally impossible. So he resets his phone, changes all his passwords. Nothing. Finally, he goes for the nuclear option. He powers the phone completely off, and then for good measure, he physically pulls the SIM card out. That has to work, right?
Nope, not even close. The next morning, he puts the SIM card back in, powers up the phone, and there it is, a notification. Missed call at 3:17 a.m. from Daniel Harper. He even checked his phone's battery logs. They confirmed it was completely off all night. So think about that. A call somehow registered on a device that was basically a brick.
And this is where the whole thing shifts. It goes from being this weird tech problem to something way more personal and way more creepy. Daniel sets up a camera to record his phone, just to prove he's not losing his mind. And sure enough, at 3:17 a.m., it rings. He lets it go to voicemail, and a second later, a text message pops up. From his own number, just 3 words, stop looking for me.
That text message just changed everything. I mean, he hadn't been looking for anyone, but now he had to. Who sent that? Who was this me he was being warned away from? So he did what we all do. He went online and started digging. And buried deep in the search results, he found it, a missing persons report from way back in September 2008. The name on the report? Daniel Harper. The age? 17. The location? Austin, Texas. It was a perfect match for who he was 15 years ago. Except he'd never been missing. He had memories of his life, right? And here's the detail that's just absolutely bone-chilling. In the report, it says that right before he disappeared, the teenage Daniel Harper had told his friends he felt like someone else was living his life. Imagine reading that. That exact phrase sent a shiver right down our Daniel's spine.
The report led him to Lake Travis, which was the last place the other Daniel was ever seen. And this is the moment the digital ghost becomes real. Because there, near the shore, stuck in the ground, was a small, weathered wooden cross. And carved right into it were the initials DH and the year 2008.
Finding that cross was the tipping point. Daniel knew he couldn't ignore the calls anymore. He couldn't just keep letting it ring. He had to face this, whatever this was. He had to answer the phone. So that night, he just sat there, waiting. At 3:17 a.m., right on schedule, the screen lit up. Daniel Harper. He took a deep breath, and his thumb just hovered over the screen for a second. And then he swiped. He answered the call. At first, there was nothing but static, maybe the sound of wind. And then, a whisper came through. A voice so similar to his own, it was uncanny. And it said, "You were never supposed to remember." The line immediately went dead.
A second later, one last text came through from his number. You already left once.
And just like that, it was over. The calls at 3:17 a.m. stopped. The texts stopped. Everything just went back to normal. The echo on the line, whatever it was, had gone silent. It really seemed like the whole bizarre, unsolved mystery was finally done.
But it wasn't. Because weeks later, Daniel's just idly scrolling through his phone's photo gallery, and he finds the last and maybe the most impossible piece of this whole puzzle.
He found a folder of photos he had never, ever seen before. There were pictures of him at Lake Travis, and the timestamp on every single one of them was from September 2008, the exact month the other Daniel Harper vanished.
But here's the part that breaks your brain. He checked the photo's metadata. That's like its digital fingerprint. And it showed that the photos were taken on a smartphone model that wasn't released until 2015. So you have a photo dated 2008, taken with a phone from 7 years in the future. It makes no sense.
And the very last photo is the one that will haunt you. In the picture, you see a teenage Daniel smiling by the water. But if you look really close, at the reflection on the surface of the lake, you can just make out the person taking the picture. It's another figure standing just a few feet away, holding up a phone. A figure that looks exactly like him.
So that brings us right back to where we started, but now the question feels so much heavier. If your phone rang tonight, and you knew what or maybe who was on the other side of that call, would you dare to answer?